For more now, we're joined by Carlo Masala. He's the director of the Center for Intelligence and Security Studies at the Bundeswehr University, Munich, and he joins us from Bielefeld. Welcome, Professor. Europe and the U.S. are acting surprised that Erdogan's army is moving so aggressively against the Kurds in northeastern Syria. But was there ever any doubt about the Turkish president's intentions and that the removal of U.S. troops would enable this offensive?
No, there was never any doubt. I mean, first of all, everyone remembers that the Turks 2 years ago moved into Afrin. Secondly, Erdogan, I think, at least 3 times made very clear that his intention is to move into Syria and to crash down the Kurds because he considers them as allies of the, or let's say, as an arm, as a wing of the Turkish-Kurdish terrorist organization PKK. So it was very clear that when he would have a window of opportunity, he would do it, and the U.S. gave him this window of opportunity.
Does President Erdogan have a valid argument when he says that the Kurds in northern Syria pose a threat to Turkey?
No, he has no valid argument. He has a valid argument by saying that the YPG is a kind of armed wing of the PKK, the Turkish-Kurdish terrorist organization. There he's right. They're working closely together. They're using the same symbols. And so the YPG in Syria could be considered as part of the PKK. But they don't pose so far any threat. The threat perceived by Turkey from the Kurdish parts of Syria is the same threat the Turks perceive from Iraq. It's the mere fact that the Turks that the Kurds are holding territory, and that this could pave the way for some kind of Kurdish autonomous state which scares Turkey to death because of its own territorial integrity.
President Erdogan is threatening to flood Europe with refugees. We heard a statement from there earlier. If European leaders label Turkey's offensive in Syria an invasion, is that a credible threat?
Yes, it is a credible threat. It's not the first time he threatened Europe was that. I mean, during the whole period from when the deal was made until a couple of months ago, Erdogan twice or 3 times, when something went wrong in the relations between the European Union and Turkey, or Germany and Turkey, he threatens to open basically the refugee camps and send refugees to Europe. So it's a credible threat.
So the deal you're referring there to, of course, is the deal between the European Union and Turkey, whereby the European Union gives Turkey funds to host refugees from Syria and prevent them effectively from coming to Europe. So how do you see this unfolding, Professor, with Turkey's offensive in northeastern Syria and the reactions that we're hearing, particularly from the U.S., where they're threatening sanctions against Turkey?
I think that Turkey will continue until they will reach their goal, which is basically having these Kurdish parts of Syria under their own control. I think the intention of Turkey is then to send a couple of 100,000 refugees, which are currently in Turkey, into these kind of into these territories. And I would say the U.S. Europe has limited influence right now on Turkey until Turkey reaches its goal. I know that Congress is preparing sanctions. I don't think that this will impress the Turks. The Turks will rely on the Russians if economic sanctions are imposed on them. And I don't see any other instruments Europe or the US right now has which would basically impress the Turks to such an extent that they will change the way they fight the war of aggression they're currently fighting in Syria.
Professor Masala, thank you so much. That was Carlo Masala from the Center for Intelligence and Security Studies in Munich, speaking to us from Bielefeld. Thanks a lot.